Hello and welcome to another edition of What's Up Missoula, where MCAT interviews representatives from local nonprofit organizations. I'm your host, Rikki Danielson. Today we have with us Seth Pogue, the Executive Director of Live Earth Action Resource Network. This is part 2. We have so much information to go over. What's happening is that Seth is with an organization of people. He's heading it as the Executive Director. They're going to try to promote building these, you explain it because I'm not going to be able to explain it. What do you call this again?
Sustainable Interdependent Living Community.
Okay, and so they are these dome houses, and they contain how many families?
5 to 7 families apiece.
Okay, so this is part 2, so we're going to do a quick review. So 5 to 7 families apiece would live inside these domes at this particular model, and this is the main facility.
That's the community center that has kitchen, dining facilities, classroom, computer room, library, daycare facilities, also art facilities, recording studio, sculpture, painting studio, dance studio, exercise facilities.
Wow, how big is this dome?
It's a 75-foot diameter, 3-story dome with an open atrium in the center, which will give you a high vaulted ceiling. There will be about 11,000 square feet in the community center.
Okay, and all of these structures will have windows and skylights.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and so he's looking at some properties right now outside of Missoula. You're looking at some in Frenchtown, possibly.
Yes.
Okay, and then something in Condon.
That's right.
Okay, and they're just in the exploratory stage. They're going to draw up agreements to. They want the community to come to some agreement of how this is going to be set up, and everyone needs to agree on how they want to survive in this community. Right. Okay, and tell me about the winds. This can sustain high winds and hurricanes, earthquakes, because of the way they're built, because of the dome shape.
That's right.
Okay, and tell me about the earthquake. We didn't really talk about that. Why would it withstand an earthquake as opposed to a conventionally built building?
Well, these domes are basically hollow rock structures. They're a single monolithic half sphere of concrete, reinforced concrete, with a reinforced concrete pad underneath. And the types of stresses, the types of shearing loads that an earthquake is going to deliver to a structure are nowhere near the design tolerance of these domes. They can withstand a number 10 earthquake.
Now, did they give like the way buildings are supposed to in an earthquake, or they
the whole thing is
right
just going to move on top of it?
Oh, I see. Okay, and so is it somehow able to, be shaken and not fall apart? Because
well, now, as far as your chandelier inside or your bookshelf inside, there's no guarantees there.
But the
structure itself is going to be standing.
So it can modulate somehow and not fall apart?
That's right.
Okay.
It won't fall apart.
All right.
They are fireproof, they are hurricane-proof, they are earthquake-proof.
Okay. And so this is we want it to be a fully sustainable community with community gardens. Are the gardens going to be outside or inside?
They'll be outside. In the summer, we'll have a number of different crops growing in the gardens. In the winter, many will be stored in root cellars. A lot will be left out in the gardens and heavily mulched. So you can go out in January and pick carrots right out of the ground if you've got 1.5 feet of mulch over the top. Then we'll have a greenhouse that grows year-round.
Okay. And the greenhouse would be inside this big module?
Well, no. This scale model here is represented by this part of this conceptual drawing. On this drawing, the greenhouse is out here.
Oh, I see. Okay. And so, and what is this number 4 and number 16?
Oh, this is the garden.
Okay.
This is the second garden expansion.
Oh, I see. Okay. And, all right, and this is the property that you were looking at in Frenchtown?
Yes.
So, okay.
It's 10 minutes from the Missoula airport.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not going to necessarily get this piece of land. This is one that we've considered as one of the 2 best that we've seen so far.
Okay, and so this diagram shows a lot more buildings, but Seth explained in part 1 that having less buildings that are bigger, larger, is just more efficient. So they've kind of gravitated towards this as a better model. And we had talked about using this model. Your dream is to get this developed, get it on the ground, get it built, and have people living in it, and then have people come from all over the world.
Exactly. Open the doors. Come and walk around and see what it's like to live without using any fossil fuel.
Okay, and we talked about fish farming. You're going to do some fish farming on here. You're going to do it in a way that the fish will stay healthy, but you're not going to overpopulate the... Right. And then we talked about the cost. You were saying that it would be around, at this point, you're thinking around $50,000. Is that what you said for a...
$50,000 for an unfinished 1-bedroom apartment, about 650 square feet, up to about $85,000 for a 3-bedroom. This depends upon what we wind up paying for the land.
Yes.
And when I say unfinished, what I mean is we have the heating in place, the electrical in place, the plumbing is in place, the walls and roof are sealed and in place, and they're left to finish inside with, appliances,
lighting fixtures and carpeting,
flooring.
if they want that.
My own dome, I'm gonna paint the floors and walls with concrete paint. They make these fantastic concrete paints these days that look like stone. And when you've got this incredibly even heating inside of the dome, it's very nice to walk around on barefoot.
Yes, and you've said that, what are the temperatures to be maintained inside? You said in the summertime it can be as low as 55 degrees?
Well, what I was saying is that in the summertime, we have a system that will allow us to pull 55-degree air in up through floor vents around the inside, around the base. Open a roof vent and the hot air goes out and it pulls cold air in that's been traveling underground.
So you're not going to have some kind of heating and cooling system other than that?
Well, we will need heating
Okay.
in the wintertime, certainly.
And how is the heat? Is that the water gets heated up somehow?
It's going to be both electric, an electric on-demand hot water heater that pumps the heated water through the floors. The energy for that will come from the solar panels and the wind turbine.
This is the solar panel
Correct.
right here. This is
Yes.
huge. This would be very big. Okay. All right.
It does ultimately wind up paying for itself.
Okay. And so you're off the grid? Is that?
Well, we'll be attached to the grid initially, but it makes it easier to get loans, for instance, if you're attached to the grid. But the idea is there may be no grid within a decade or two from now, if global warming keeps going the way it's going. And if you want to find out why I say that, go to the website learnmt.org and look at the FAQ, look at the frequently asked questions section. There's a very, very strong possibility we're not going to have any more interstate trucking or any more gasoline, diesel, propane, home heating oil, or electricity coming from the grid, from corporate sources in the very near future.
So how would you replace the grid? You have the solar panels,
a wind turbine, and then the storage battery is the water tower. When energy is being generated by the panels and or the turbine but not being used, it pumps water up into the water tower. Then when the energy is needed, the water comes back down out of the tower and runs a turbine. That way we don't have to replace expensive batteries every 10 years. And the batteries also have all that lead in them. It's not exactly eco-friendly. Plus, we may not have batteries available. We need to hope for the best, but prepare for what could be, a major restructuring of our energy economy in the very near future.
Now, how does the water tower sustain, high winds, or, is that something you've thought about, or?
Well, it'll be a circular water tower or a cylindrical water tower, and The idea is to build it nice and sturdy and bury the pilings deep into the ground.
Okay.
Now, ideally, we would wind up with a piece of land that has some flat but above floodplain so we can build on it, because in Missoula County, you can't build in the floodplain. A majority of the land in the floodplain where you can garden, and that land is cheaper because you can't develop it, see? And part of it on a hill. Then we simply build the water tower into the side of the hill. That would be ideal.
Now, what is the smallest amount of land that you could sustain this on?
Probably about 25 acres.
Really? Well, that's pretty small. Okay. So if anybody else out there has 25 acres they'd like to donate to the cause, they should call you.
Please give me a call.
Especially if it fulfills all the requirements you just talked about. Okay. And so can you locate one of these anywhere in the country?
Sure. Anywhere that's above about 400 feet above sea level. Because the last time CO2 levels were as high as they are today, sea levels were 300 feet higher than they are now. That was 20 million years ago. And the polar ice caps are melting. Chunks of Antarctica are falling in the ocean. The Greenland ice sheet is melting. There are huge rivers rolling underneath it. It's split down the middle. And again, I hope we're able to cap global warming by impelling our elected leaders to put some deep cuts in our CO2 emissions. We need some tough new laws, some new standards that require that there's at least 80% cuts in CO2 by 2025. A lot of people are looking at 2050. I think that's too little, too late. We need to move on this now. If we manage to move quickly enough, we may limit global warming to 3 degrees or so over the next century. If we don't, we could see, let's put it this way, half the warming since the last ice age took place in 10 years. 10 degrees in 10 years. If we see a 10-degree temperature increase over a decade or two, we could see sea level rise that nobody's prepared for.
Okay, and so 400 feet above sea level is where you need to be, and that you're looking for at least that.
Yes.
And you were telling me in our first part one, I think we should repeat how quickly you can put these up. You said in a matter of weeks.
It takes 2 or 3 weeks to build one of these domes, unfinished.
Unfinished.
Right.
And even this big one, because the technology, it's sort of the same amount of time?
With the appropriate manpower and equipment, 4 or 5 weeks.
Okay. And so this main dome would be where the cooking is done?
Yes.
And the meetings are done, and schools, and we also, we should talk about how people are going to make a living. And how is it that they would do that, exist in this community?
There are a number of different ideas. First off, the educational center. Learn.org is the name, the acronym for this nonprofit. And it's all about learning. It's all about bringing people in to see how to live without using fossil fuel. So we're going to have visitor days where people are encouraged to come and spend 2 days and 1 night living among us. Money will also come from seminars given by the Educational Center in organic gardening, permaculture, dome building, sustainable energy systems. We will also probably wind up starting a dome building company that builds super insulated dome homes with turnkey energy systems. Money will come from sale of arts and crafts, from sale of produce, fish from the gardens and so on. And for the first few years, a number of members of the community may decide to hold on to jobs outside of the community. Within a few years, we envision most of the community members' livelihoods taking place within the community.
And so what about health care?
There will be a medical facility on board. Obviously, if somebody needs to have a heart bypass. We're not going to do that on site. But vibrant health is a cornerstone of the sustainable community that we're going to build. We're going to be eating well. We're going to be living well. All of the components for longevity are there. One of my sidelines as a biologist is life extension. And for instance, there's a substance, I shouldn't go way into it. Scientists are now doubling the maximum lifespan of animals in the laboratory.
Wow.
Not just the average lifespan, the maximum lifespan. They have rats living twice as long as a rat has ever lived. And they're not just getting older and older and older and older and more feeble. They're young and vital. They're exhibiting territorial and sexual behavior right up till the end. And so people who are eating right, who are holding the right mindset, you know, energy follows thought. If anybody has seen the movie The Secret or What the Bleep Do We Know, if you think you're getting old, you're going to get old faster. If you stop and visualize yourself being young, you'll stay young longer. There are a number of different techniques that can be used. Don't take my word for it. I have, you can call me, and anybody who's interested in this can give me a call. I can give you a lot of references. You can look this up for yourself. Obviously, the rats and mice aren't visualizing themselves living longer. This is more of a biochemical approach to it, but the biochemical approach and then the metaphysical approach of the visualization, attitude, lifestyle, all play a major role in this. And I have plenty of literature and references on any of these. So I don't think anybody living here is going to wind up needing a heart bypass in the first place. What we'll have is a MASH facility, if you will. There will be a naturopathic physician. There will be massage and Rikki facilities. There will be herbs and non-prescription drugs available, and patches and sutures and so on for if you get, you know, nicked with a shovel out in the field type of a thing.
So this would be, what I'm hearing, I may be wrong, but it's going to be like a learning center.
Absolutely.
That's what you're sort of offering
First
to the
and
community.
foremost.
Yeah.
It's not just about having 60 people make it while global warming gets worse. We want this to catch on. We want other people to build intelligently and sustainably. And we want to see communities like this spring up everywhere. If everyone was living like this, we would be contributing 0 CO2 to the atmosphere, except with our long-distance travel, our long-distance commuting, which may, whether we like it or not, be severely limited sometime in the near future.
Well, I know that what I understand about global warming is that anything we do right now is not going to really affect the immediate future. We're still looking at many years, maybe as many as 20 years out there. So even if we changed everything right now,
Right. That's true.
that it's only going to affect what's going to happen as much as 20 years from now. So we are looking at changes. It's happening, and people should be looking for alternative lifestyles. Certainly, I have a lot of relatives that live in Florida, and I'm so concerned about the hurricane seasons are just really frightening now. And so these structures, knowing that they would withstand 300-mile-an-hour winds is very, very important.
And tsunamis.
And tsunamis,
Oh,
really?
Yes. They're tsunami proof.
Are they?
Yes.
Oh, that's great. So do they have these dome houses in Florida?
There are a number of them in Florida.
Okay, so people could probably look up just Google that information and find out more about it, about global houses in Florida, if we're interested.
These are known as monolithic domes.
Monolithic domes.
Right.
Okay.
Google monolithic domes if you're interested.
Okay, and so they can find out more. So we talked about that, let's say that this filled up. What is the most amount of people that this could hold?
Well, the maximum is probably about 100 or 120 people, but the idea is to have around 60 people living there.
Okay. And so
once the population grows up to 100 or 120 or so, then it's time to start a new community.
Okay. And so by then, people will be used to living this way and understand how well it works and understand how to start another community. And so by that time, then the 60 can empty out and go into the new community and start all over again.
Right.
And so these could be developed very quickly.
Yes, they can, if the finances are in place.
Tell me about the financial situation right now. What is it that you need? What are you looking for people who want to live here? Are you people that want it as an investment? Donations? What are you looking at?
Two things. There will be a homeowners association, and we need people who want to buy in.
Okay.
And then there is also a nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit, that is status is pending. We are now a Montana nonprofit.
Okay.
We'll have the 501c3 very shortly, and the grounds, the energy infrastructure, the community center will all be owned by the nonprofit. The learning center, the educational facilities will be owned by the nonprofit. And so we're looking for corporate investors, donators, I'm sorry, not investors, donations and grants.
Sponsors and donators, okay.
Exactly.
And,
Who are interested in helping us fulfill the vision of creating a model of sustainability.
okay.
So we need both, people who want to buy in and own their own little piece of it, and then deeper pocketed, probably corporations who are interested in helping us develop this model of sustainability.
How much do you think it's all going to cost between everything?
Depending upon what the land winds up costing, it'll probably cost around $2 million to get it up and running.
Okay.
And then depending upon how fancy we want to make it, how we want to finish the structures inside and so on, how fancy people get there could be quite a bit more invested in it ultimately. If people want to do a $150 a square foot house or something, it could be exorbitant, but that's not likely to happen. The kind of people who move in here are going to likely be building as efficiently as possible. I'd be surprised if the whole thing finished went over $2.5 million.
So let's say that can you go to a bank and just borrow the money, or you're not even looking at that?
We'll be able to do that as a homeowners association.
So if you get your 60 people all together.
We don't need that many.
You don't need that many
Oh,
to start.
no. We wouldn't need that many.
Okay.
You
So
know, 7 to 10 people with good credit and good collateral. But banks are our last resort.
okay. So you're looking at what first?
Well, many intentional communities that have made it have started off with a combination of the core group of people who put it together having a certain amount of resources, a certain amount of money to spend on it, and then they've procured loans from more forgiving sources than banks,
Okay.
if you will, friends, family, to get it going. And sometimes perhaps a quarter of it has come from a bank after the rest of it's in place. Then it's a snap for the bank to make that loan, and you pay that part off first. Then as people continue to move in, every time someone moves in and buys in, then you recoup some of that money.
Because if you have as many as, how many, 6 families living in each of these? How many did you say?
5 to 7
5
residences.
to 7 residences.
There could be a single person
Okay.
or a family.
Between 50 and 85,000, and you've added all that up. So once, let's say, all the houses are filled up, have you come up with that figure of how much money that would be? Would that be enough to, like, let's say Missoula hears this, and you've got all these people just show up and say, "I want in."
Right.
Would you have enough money then to just do it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I think so.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So, and how fast do you think all this could be built if you were going to, let's say that you got all the money together, 6 months from now, and then you're ready to go. Some company comes and helps you build it, and you need a bunch of people there on site probably to help it happen.
And hopefully, ideally, the people who are going to live there are the ones who are in there being trained by the dome builders. Here's your Tyvek suit, put it on and come on in and grab a shotcrete gun and here you go. And you're going to love the place so much more if you've built it yourself.
Absolutely.
So it works in a stepwise progression. Ideally, if we broke ground next summer, we would finish the community center and have the energy infrastructure mostly in place by the end of that summer. The next year, we would build the residences. The first year, people would live within the community center and in teepees and yurts and trailers and mobile homes parked around on the outside of it. You always do the community center first. That's one lesson we've learned.
Right.
If people build their houses first, they're busy tricking out their houses, and they're not putting the energy into the community center. And some communities that have taken that route wind up with an unfinished community center that sits there for 6 years till it's done.
Good. Yeah, it sounds like you've figured this out. Have you ever lived in a commune yourself?
You know, I lived on a Quaker commune when I was 15 years old in Deerfield, Massachusetts, called Woolman Hill.
Okay.
And, you know, it just occurred to me the other night that I guess I've never really gotten over that. I really, really felt at home. It just felt wonderful. Obviously, it was conventional stick frame structures. There was a central house where the meals were cooked and so on. But just that feeling of community, there's something missing today. And, you know, if we're going to do something about this endless stream of carbon that's breaking our planet, we have to do something about our broken communities. People have moved farther and farther out into the suburbs. They have less friends. They eat less meals with family and friends and neighbors. And our standard of living has gone up, but our sense of personal satisfaction has gone down. And I think it's very likely that it ties in with the fact that up until the advent of agriculture 10,000 years ago, people lived in small bands of 30 to 60 people. It may be encoded in our DNA to function best within an extended family, an interdependent family unit like this.
And so what this needs is, we had talked earlier about how you were thinking that if there was maybe 100 people will come together and say, yeah, I want to do this. And then after a couple of months of negotiating, and it may go down to whittle away to only maybe 10 people who come up with an agreed way to live together. And then that will grow, because other people will agree with those philosophies that are developed.
Exactly.
And then other communities can, you can say, okay, well, we'll help you start your own if you want to do that, if you want to do it a different way.
And if they don't want to be a learning community, if they don't want to be a model community with open doors, as ours will be a few days a week, if they don't want to be an art-based community, as we will be, that's fine.
Model community as in modeled for other people from other countries or other states to come and look at, to help them develop whatever they want to do.
Right. Come in and learn how to live sustainably without creating any greenhouse gas.
Okay. Well, this was great. I'm very excited. I hope that you're able to locate somewhere near Missoula, because Missoula is already so into sustainable things. I mean, the community gardens that we have, and people are already thinking that way here. So I think you found a good place to start this concept.
All right.
All right. Well, good luck, Seth.
Thank you very much,
And we'll
Rikki.
keep flashing all your information on the screen if anyone wants to get in touch with you. They should have no problem with that. If you do have a problem, call MCAT at 542-MCAT. And if you have a program that you're interested in seeing on What's Up Missoula, please give us a call. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Seth. All right.